Hi, how you doing? I can't hear you for some reason, but give me a second. Maybe my settings are off.
It was because I was muted.
Oh, okay. Let me just get the camera to work here.
Okay, 1 second here. Okay. Mm.
Okay,
Hey,
here we are.
hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine, thanhanks.
A little
Very
late.
happy to be here with you today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. Thank you very much for doing this. It's a nice thing you're doing.
Yeah, just 1 minute before we connect, this is a very simple session. The idea is that we don't need to prepare too much or whatever because you speak about what you already wrote, and it's to celebrate the chapters of the book. No? So this
Sure.
is chapter number 6. We've already done 7 sessions so far, 15 minutes, which is quite nice for everyone just to go in and read and learn, no, what we've been talking about this. And yeah, so the structure is very simple. I'll ask you to introduce yourself, and then I'll ask you about the chapter. You can talk about your co-authors as well and the idea behind the chapter. And then we dig deeper into what's the chapter about, and then a call to action. And that's it.
I just need to get a drink of water and change the lighting. So just give me 1 second, okay?
Okay.
That's too dark. Let's see if this is too dark now. I think that it's pretty dark. Let me turn on the light a little bit. Okay, I think that's better. All right, I have my drink and the lighting's a little better, so. Great.
Perfect.
So
So
you're just gonna ask me some questions, keep me going, kind of thing?
sorry.
You're gonna ask me some questions to keep me going?
Yeah, everything I said just before, that will be
Okay,
the structure of the session. Do you want
okay.
me to repeat it?
I think I got it. I just need a moment I just came off doing something else, so my brain is a little fried.
Okay.
I mean, I just have a drink of water and then a moment of calm.
Breathe.
Okay,
Just flow, just begin talking about who you are, and that sets the right kind of mood to
sure.
be. Hmm?
Okay, so my name,
Perfect.
you tell me
No,
when you want to start.
I'm preparing to go live. Okay,
Okay,
1 second. I will tell you when we are live. 1 second.
so my name.
Okay, we are live now. Welcome today to our Open Innovation Thursday. Happy Open Innovation Thursday for everyone. This is our 7th chapter, and we are really happy because this is going really well. We have this idea of talking every week about one of the chapters of the Oxford Handbook of Open Innovation that we have here, which is a joy for me to be able to speak about this, and also with so many great people that we have today. So my name is Marisol Menendez. I'm an open innovation practitioner and fan, and I'm also fan of the book, and I'm very happy about doing this. And today we are going to talk about the 6th chapter, which is the first chapter of the 2nd section. By the way, we are now opening a new section, the section about open innovation within firms. And this chapter is called The Graft and Craft of Individual Level Open Innovation. And to talk about it today, we have Ammon Salter connecting from the UK. No? Welcome, Ammon. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for joining us today. And let's start by the beginning, which is always a good way to begin. Can you please introduce yourself for those who don't know you?
Hi, my name's Ammon Salter. I'm Canadian, working and living in the UK. I've been in Europe now for 25 years. I did my PhD here in the UK at the University of Sussex, the Science Policy Research Unit. And then I've worked at Imperial College, the University of Bath, and now at the University of Warwick, where I'm a professor of innovation and technology management at the Warwick Business School.
Wow. And so that's your road to the open innovation realms, which are very interesting, no?
Well, kind of my start in open innovation, I got started quite early. In fact, before there was open innovation, I met Henry Chesbrough years ago as a doctoral student when we were both doctoral students. And we attended a workshop for doctoral students at MIT called the CCC. And I presented my first year PhD program work, and Henry was doing work on the disk drive industry, and he presented his work. So I got to meet Henry there. And then years later, I visited him at the Harvard Business School in 2002. And he gave me he showed me a draft of the book before it was published. So I had some influence, and I was always interested. My thesis was on science and technology policy in a region of Canada. And I was interested in the relationship between companies and external parties, particularly universities. So I got into that research area, and Cal Larson and I wrote a paper in 2006, was one of the empirical first tests of the open innovation hypothesis, if you will. And so I've been working on this topic area for many years, and had a chance to interact with Henry and colleagues on this topic over the years, and I've enjoyed watching the growth of the open innovation research field.
It's amazing too that you have been there since the very beginning. You saw the baby when it was little.
Yeah,
So
I think
it's great. No, and now you are
useful
20 years later.
Yeah, it's useful to think that open innovation as a concept builds on lots of research done in years before the concept was coined. So there's been a long tradition in the study of innovation studies looking at lead users from the work of Eric von Hippel, the work on suppliers by Keith Pavitt. So we know that the firm is one player in this story, and the firm relies on lots of external parties to help it innovate. And so Henry's useful encapsulation of that idea in the concept of open innovation was a way of giving voice to these external actors and how they shape the firm's innovation activities. So, I think it's been nice to both as a window looking back and looking forward from open innovation.
And so you saw the first draft of the book, of the Open Innovation book 20 years ago, and you also now are part of this compilation, no? We were saying that with Henry that this was more a Bible than a novel, no? In terms that it's an accumulation of knowledge from different corners of the world and of the practice and theory of open innovation. And the chapter is called The Graft and Craft of Individual Level Open Innovation. And you have co-authors, Anne Terval and Paula Criscuolo, no?
Squallow, yeah.
Can you give us an idea on what became or how the idea was born about writing this specific chapter?
Yeah, so Paula Criscuolo and Anna Terwal and I have been working together on this topic for about, 12, 13 years. We originally did a research project where we tried to look at the individual side of open innovation. So how do individuals do open innovation? So what skills, capabilities, and challenges they face as they try to engage in open innovation? And that was a multi-year research project with a corporate partner where we looked at R&D staff who had been asked to be open as part of their jobs and what it meant for, how they did their jobs and how the challenges they faced in being open in an organization which was very focused on intellectual property. And so we wrote a series of papers about that, looking at individual level behavior and practices and also coping strategies that these firms developed. And as part of that work, we did a lot of research on the networks that individuals need, both inside and outside the firm, to be successful in doing open innovation activities. So, the chapter builds on that stream of research, and we tried to bring it all together in the chapter to give people a flavor of what we've done and what others have done on this topic, to try to give some substance, some heft to the study of open innovation at the individual level. I think it's useful to think that, organizations don't do anything. Individuals do things for organizations. And so in the end, open innovation is a practice that can only be made real in the behaviors of people in the jobs. And for many people who are in the innovation space, the open innovation assignment or the task is quite different and distinct from what they were trained to do and what they had done previously. So that's kind of what we wanted to bring to the surface in our study. And of course, we're not the first people ever to study individuals and how they use external knowledge outside their team and outside their organization to shape their innovative activities. So we try to build on prior generations of research, pre-open innovation research on this topic, and try to integrate that with a better understanding of the research that's been done since the term open innovation came along.
This is one of the things I like about the chapter, the two perspectives that you were talking about. First, the mapping of literature, which is always useful for academics, of course, but also for practitioners who are not well versed in diving through the academia, no? And so this mapping out of the previous literature also inspires for future research, I think, because you also see the blind spots of current literature, which is very interesting. And then the focus on individuals. No, I always said in my company, when everyone says, no, the company doesn't allow for that. Who is the company? We make the policy, no? So this conscience or acknowledgement of the individual level of actions within organizations for me is key. And you say that these are the micro foundations of open innovation at the end, no? The conscience that we are knitting together this overall concept is amazing for me. So what would be maybe the main takeouts that you want people to take from the chapter, the main conclusions?
Yeah, so in the chapter, we explored the different roles that individuals take up in doing open innovation. Some of these roles have been identified in the literature prior to open innovation. Some are like new roles that have been identified in the literature on open innovation. Some are kind of combinations of roles that were in the literature but have been redefined to understand open innovation. So in the chapter, we try to discuss some of these different roles and the networks that are associated with these roles. So I think it'd be helpful if I can go through the roles that people take up. These are not mutually exclusive roles. These are not job titles. These are activities that people do, which can be characterized as being different from other activities that others might do. And it's possible, of course, that a person might be doing one of these roles at one time and then do another role later on as part of their career. But typically people kind of fall into these buckets of different open innovation roles. And over time, as open innovation is diffused into practice, we've seen more professionalization and more demarcation of different job roles. And so we see, people becoming professional at doing one part of the open innovation process as opposed to doing all of it. And that's an interesting empirical phenomena as the space of open innovation gets explored and examined. Firms get better at doing it, and they create, staff and performance and reward systems that enable their staff to do it well. So in terms of the roles, I think we could start with the classic role, which was originally discovered by Tom Allen back in the 70s, which was the gatekeeper. So Tom Allen, in his studies of an R&D lab back in the 70s, identified people who had very rich contacts outside the firm and rich contacts inside the firm. And he saw them as people who could identify external knowledge and also help us diffuse that internal knowledge inside the firm. So they had this dual character. They're both good at finding knowledge from outside the firm and then diffusing it inside the firm. And he called these technology gatekeepers. So that was the original concept. And these gatekeepers were measured basically by people who had large networks inside the firm and outside the firm. We called them communication stars. Mm-hmm. So that was one role that was identified early on. And then, of course, we have another literature on technology scouts. So these are people primarily focused on looking for external knowledge, identifying useful external knowledge outside the firm. Sometimes these people are housed in divisions, which are like technology scouting divisions, but they can be also in the R&D department or other parts of the organization. And they're primarily engaged in the search process. So they're reading scientific articles, they're going to conferences, they're going to trade fairs, they're trying to meet inventors to learn about their technology. And then, of course, once they identify something which is of potential interest to the firm, they have to notify someone in the firm and start to bring the process of bringing those ideas into the firm. So those are the sort of technology scouts in the identification.
Observatory roles, no?
Sorry?
Observatory roles.
Observatory roles, yeah, any of those. It gets called many different things, the activity. So it can be called, lots of things.
Yeah.
And a good example of this is the IBM Academy. So the IBM Academy is a 500 strong group of senior technologists at IBM. and many of them have jobs for partnerships with key partners of IBM. So, for example, you might have someone assigned to Imperial College whose job it is to make connections between Imperial College and IBM. So that would be someone, who has rich networks inside the firm because they're usually very skilled inventors and scientists who've worked in many different projects in IBM. And also they have deep ties outside the organization. And some research has shown that to be successful in that role, you need to have a balance. You can't be completely externally focused. So the most successful scouts tend to have really rich networks, both inside and outside the firm, in the sense of the Tom Allen gatekeeper. And they also balance their time between internal and external sources of knowledge. So they're not completely externally facing. So externally facing people who are completely externally facing are quite bad at identifying knowledge that's useful for their home organization. And this
That
is
they
one
can
of
connect it. They can
the,
connect it, not.
and this is one of the challenge for scouting departments or observation departments. Often these units are created, organizations invest resources in them, and then the return on that investment isn't great because they're not able to harvest much from the external environment, and they get closed down. So the scouts have to be, they have to keep their one foot on the inside, one foot on the outside. They have to balance their time.
You have other roles identified here: assimilators, champions, shepherds, and ambassadors. No, I think they are described as part of this process of assimilating, exploring, implementing, and then growing outside the company. No, more or less following the full flow of open innovation activity.
Yeah, so the assimilators are the people who kind of repackage external knowledge, because in the end, external knowledge needs to compete with internal knowledge in the battle for resources inside the firm. And so external knowledge needs to be, domesticated. It has to fit the categories and the templates of the organization. And the assimilators, who may not be the people identifying external knowledge, but maybe people repackaging, putting in the templates, putting it through the stage gate process of the organization. These people are critical in terms of the absorption of external knowledge, and it doesn't have to be the same people who are doing the searching. Sometimes it's a different person. And then we also identified another group called the shepherds. So the shepherds are both assimilators and also people who champion external knowledge inside the firm. So they both help repackage it and also explain it to people who may have decision-making power inside the organization, build a constituency of support for these ideas, which may or may not be popular inside the organization. External knowledge often doesn't have a promoter, so it needs, or a champion. So it needs somebody who's able to win the support of people who matter in decision-making terms in the organization, and that they may be educating people across the firm about the technology, trying to build up an understanding of its use, developing use cases inside the firm that show its successful application. You think of the use of like large language models in many companies these days. So that's external knowledge coming in. So they might have to develop a use case that has strong analogies to other parts of the business. And so that's kind of the role of the champion the role of the shepherd is to both assimilate that knowledge, make the large language model useful for the firm, and make sure it's secure and there's no disclosure and all this other thing, make it domestic, so it's comfortable for the firm to use, and then develop use cases. And then once you've developed these use cases, then go and sell them to other constituencies in the firm. And so to make that, external knowledge perceived as useful and valuable by the right people. So that's the shepherd role. And then we have champions. And so this champion idea is that there's people inside firms who often promote open innovation, sometimes against the better wishes of the organization. So they may, engage in some kind of bootleg projects where they do things they're not supposed to kind of go external and try to collaborate with external parties. Sometimes this may be with competitors. This may be in open source communities. So these champions innovation often promote openness as a strategy inside the organization. It's particularly the case for open source technology, where it's taken efforts by people who are strong believers that the benefits of this approach would be high for their organization, but they have to kind of overcome the organization's fears of working in a very different legal environment that they're used to, as opposed to proprietary software. So that was a great study done by Joachim Henkel, looking at these champions of openness, as he calls them. So those are all different roles. The other one, which is identified in the literature, maybe hasn't had as much attention as it should, is the ambassador role. So, typically firms are part of these kind of cross-industry consortia, public policy forums, standards committees. So they'll need to send individuals out to sit on those meetings, engage in those meetings, and bring information back to those meetings. So that's kind of ambassadorial role. And, that's a critical role in the organization, especially when you've got issues of interoperability. You need to think about the technology roadmap of the industry and how your firm's strategy is going to fit with that. You may want to figure out, whether or not there's some technology that's being developed by your competitor that might be useful for you. And you might see that, you might become aware of that in a standards meeting, for example, when you're talking about future generations of technology. So these ambassadors are also quite an important role. Another role which we didn't get, sorry.
We are ready to close because we are running out of time now. But
Right.
I think this perspective or this proposal of roles is very practical, and I really enjoy a lot that this is a very hands-on chapter to read in case you want to analyze how to organize. As you were saying, not maybe as a specific job descriptions, but the functions that need to be covered by the participants, and also a little bit about the maturity of the open innovation process, because as life goes on, you will need to go throughout the chain. No? Any final conclusion, any last word just before we close the session today? A call to action?
I think most organizations haven't given enough thought to open innovation roles and how to reward and promote people for these roles. Most innovation organizations are fairly conservative in the way in which they reward people for their technical contributions. So I would like to see organizations be more creative and clever in understanding these roles and how to encourage people to take them up and reward them for doing them well.
This is amazing. Ammon, congratulations. Really, really congratulations to Anne and Paula, no? And you, of course, because this is an amazing chapter and a perfect beginning for the section number 2 of the book. And we invite everyone to read the chapter and to contact us for any future question and debate here in the comments. Thank you for your
Great.
time.
Thank you very much, Marisol. Thank you for having the
Happy
next
Open
conversation.
Innovation Thursday.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.